October 2022, a boardroom in Abu Dhabi. Tony Douglas hands over the keys to Etihad Airways and walks out. 4 years earlier, he had arrived at an airline bleeding $4.75 billion in failed investments. He is leaving it profitable. His colleagues assume he is retiring. He is not retiring. 5 months later, he is standing in Riyadh accepting the CEO job at a brand new airline with no aircraft, no routes, no passengers, and $600 billion standing behind it. Most airline CEOs spend their careers avoiding the mistakes of predecessors they never worked for. Tony Douglas spent 4 years living inside the wreckage of a strategy he inherited and didn't design. He knows exactly what a Gulf airline looks like when it overreaches. He knows what equity alliances cost when they collapse. He knows what happens when an airline tries to buy in 5 years what it takes Emirates 20 years to build. Riyadh Air is his answer, and it is built around everything Etihad was not. Tony Douglas was born in Lancashire, England. He started as an apprentice industrial engineer at General Motors, moved to BAE Systems in their regional aircraft division in 1990, and built a career that crossed manufacturing, airport management, infrastructure, defense procurement, and airline operations across 4 decades and 3 continents. He ran Heathrow Terminal 5 as managing director before becoming CEO of Heathrow Airport itself. He then moved to the UAE, running Abu Dhabi airports before taking the CEO role at the UK Ministry of Defence's Equipment and Support Division, where he managed a $20 billion annual budget procuring and supporting all equipment for the British Armed Forces. The Etihad appointment in January 2018 was where the Gulf aviation experience became personal. He arrived at an airline that had just written off approximately $4.75 billion in equity partner losses, the aftermath of a strategy that had bought stakes in Alitalia, Air Berlin, Jet Airways, and Virgin Australia in an attempt to build a connecting hub at Abu Dhabi to rival Emirates. Every one of those partners had collapsed. Douglas's mandate was to stop the bleeding. He cut $21.4 billion in aircraft orders. He eliminated the equity alliance strategy entirely. He reduced annual core losses from $1.6 billion to near zero and achieved the airline's first operating profit in years by the time he left in October 2022. The lesson that restructuring taught him about how Gulf airlines fail was arguably more valuable than any aviation education money could buy. If you want to understand why the most dangerous new airline in the world right now has only 8 aircraft, subscribe. The threat is not the current fleet. It is the direction of travel. Riyadh Air was formally announced by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on March 12, 2023. 2 days later, the airline placed a firm order for 39 Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners with options for 33 more. At the June 2025 Paris Air Show, it added 25 firm Airbus A350-1000s with options for another 25. In October 2024, it ordered 60 Airbus A321 neo narrow-body jets. The potential fleet, if all options convert, 182 aircraft. Douglas called it the biggest global aviation startup in modern history. On the numbers alone, that is accurate. No airline startup has placed orders of this scale while still in pre-launch phase. The order book is backed by the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, which holds more than $600 billion in assets. The launch itself was deliberately patient. Douglas operated the first commercial flight on October 26, 2025, not with a full network, but with a single aircraft on a carefully selected European route. The first public ticket sales opened in May 2026. London Heathrow launched June 10th, Madrid on July 17th, Manchester on July 23rd, Cairo on June 25th. The target for end of July 2026, 8 aircraft. For March 2027, 22 destinations. This deliberate pace reflects the most important lesson Douglas took from Etihad. He said it directly. If you go big bang on day 1 and assume everything will work perfectly on the first day, well, the reality is it won't. Etihad's collapse was partly caused by scaling faster than the underlying network and financial structure could support. Riyadh Air adds approximately 2 destinations per aircraft delivery. Nothing expands beyond what the aircraft count can support. Tony Douglas spent 4 years at Etihad learning everything that kills a Gulf airline. Now he is building a new one with $600 billion behind him. Do you think this is the airline that finally challenges Emirates? Drop it below and subscribe for this level of aviation analysis. The reason Emirates and Qatar Airways are watching Riyadh Air carefully has nothing to do with its current fleet of 8 aircraft. It has everything to do with the demand curve sitting underneath it. Saudi Arabia received 18 million international arrivals in 2022. Its Vision 2030 target is 150 million tourists by 2030 and 330 million annual travelers. The new King Salman International Airport, currently under construction north of Riyadh, is designed to handle 120 million passengers annually, a facility that would rank among the largest airports on Earth. Expo 2030 will bring millions of international visitors to Riyadh. The FIFA World Cup 2034 has Saudi Arabia as its primary host nation. Every international passenger today who transits through Dubai or Doha to reach Riyadh is a passenger that Riyadh Air does not yet exist to serve directly. That is the market. It already exists. It is currently being served by someone else's hub. The partnership network Douglas has assembled before the airline's first full year of public operations is the most telling indicator of long-term ambition. Delta Airlines, Singapore Airlines, Turkish Airlines, Air France KLM, Virgin Atlantic, China Eastern, Air India, Egypt Air, spanning both major global alliances, SkyTeam and Star Alliance, without Riyadh Air formally joining either. It is extracting the connectivity benefits of alliance membership without the constraints. No competitor has built this kind of multi-alliance partnership architecture before launching its first route. The product Douglas is building at Riyadh Air is the clearest expression of what he learned watching Etihad compete on product while losing on structure. Etihad had The Residence, a 3-room apartment in the sky that cost more to operate per seat than it generated in revenue per flight. Douglas at Riyadh Air is doing something different, elevating business class to what he calls a Mercedes-Maybach of the skies standard without a first-class cabin at all. No uneconomic super-premium real estate-consuming fuselage that business-class revenue cannot justify. Premium economy that he says will be closer to most airlines' business class than to economy. The digital native architecture is the other differentiator. Riyadh Air launched as the world's first native one-order network carrier, a distribution and ticketing system that has no legacy technology underneath it. Every airline that competes with Riyadh Air is running booking systems built on infrastructure designed in the 1980s. Riyadh Air has no such inheritance. It built its commercial technology stack from scratch in 2023 and 2024 during the 2 years before its first flight. When airlines like British Airways or Lufthansa want to personalize an offer or implement dynamic pricing, they are retrofitting modern capability onto ancient architecture. Riyadh Air's architecture is the modern capability. It has no legacy to retrofit. The alcohol question is the one that every Western aviation analysis raises, and Douglas has answered carefully. Riyadh Air will work within the legal framework present at any point in time. Alcohol is currently prohibited in Saudi Arabia, so Riyadh Air is a dry airline. Whether that changes is a Saudi legislative question, not an airline operational question. Douglas does not pretend otherwise. The airlines that should be most concerned about Riyadh Air are not the ones it is directly competing with today. The airlines that should be most concerned are the ones whose routes depend on passengers transiting Gulf hubs to reach Saudi Arabia, because every one of those passengers is a potential direct Riyadh Air customer within the decade. Douglas has been explicit about what Riyadh Air is not. It is not trying to replicate Emirates' super connector model, funneling passengers between continents through a Gulf hub. It is trying to make Riyadh the destination and the departure point for a market of hundreds of millions of travelers that is currently being served by someone else's hub. Tony Douglas described Riyadh Air as the biggest global aviation startup in modern history. As of July 2026, it has 8 aircraft and 6 destinations. By 2030, the plan calls for over 100 destinations and a fleet approaching 100 aircraft. The Expo is coming, the World Cup is coming, the airport is being built, the demand is already there. The man who spent 4 years learning everything that kills a Gulf airline is building this one to be everything Etihad wasn't. Patient, organic, backed by a sovereign wealth fund that has never needed a return by Tuesday. Emirates took decades to become what it is. Riyadh Air does not have decades, but it has something Etihad never had, a CEO who has already lived through the version of this story where it goes wrong, and who is building a different version on purpose. Drop a like if that story deserved to be told, and subscribe, because this airline will be back on this channel many times in the years ahead. One more thing before you go. While Riyadh Air is building patiently from 8 aircraft, the airline that was supposed to dominate the New York to leisure market just announced it is closing its crew base at Newark and retreating from its founding airports. The same month Riyadh Air launched its first London route, JetBlue was abandoning the city it was built to serve. That story is on this channel right now.